Welcome to the first episode of Brainstorming. You guys might be asking, why are two white dudes, two good-looking, bearded white dudes starting another podcast? That's just like one in a million again. But we have something to say, we have something to discuss, and actually our goal here is to give a different perspective on AI in business. That's why we started this. That's why we want to get everyone to come with us and to have a different nuanced discussion about AI in the business domain. So everybody uses AI nowadays. Everybody uses ChatGPT. Everybody uses Gemini. Everybody uses Claude. Everyone has their preference. But there is a big difference on talking about personal use of AI and business use of AI. So especially when we look at the numbers and when we look at, like, before we start today, I was looking at the latest McKinsey survey. We're talking about probably 50 to 60% of companies who haven't had an ROI on their AI investment so far. Companies that they don't even know where to start to invest in AI. So that's what we want to bring. We want to bring there are a bunch of great sources of content for applications. For depending on your industry. For example, one podcast that I absolutely love is Marketing Against the Grain from HubSpot. They are great. If you're a marketing professional, you should definitely listen to them, watch them. And there are other podcasts that really give a great view of practical applications and the latest news. We want to take a step back. We really want to look. We want to blend, and we're going to introduce ourselves. Because Henrique he talks a lot more that he's just like waiting to talk right now. But basically, we have a blend of different skills. I am the business guy who works in the day-to-day of consultancy, of working in different countries. And Henrique is more the guy of academia. He has the view of the perspective of his students, of his research. So we want to bring this blend of skills that we haven't seen in the market yet. So that's why we think we can bring something different to you guys. But I'll let, first of all, Henrique introduce himself and just let you guys know, and I'll put it right now here because I've been trying to get this guy to do a project with me for a long time. And just because he's getting married now, he was being hard to, he didn't want to see someone else because he's faithful to his wife, his future wife, Larissa. But I've been trying a long time to do a project with him. So I think we finally figured out something that blends both of our skills, and we can actually bring something of value, and we'll get into detail what the project is, because it really will involve research, academia, business. The name Brainstorm it has a meaning. It really is. We want to involve everyone, and we're going to show you how. But I'll let Henrique introduce himself and talk a little bit about himself. Why is he here? Why did he finally accept my invitation to do a project with me?
Yeah, well, Larissa said you were too good looking. I couldn't pass up on the opportunity. So she said, go ahead. That's fine. He's the only one, though. He's the only one. No one else. But thank you, Eric. Thank you for inviting me for the project. Thank you for being the brain behind the storm.
Huge head.
But yeah, and you stole my initial line, which was going to be, yes, let's talk about AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. Those are it's the golden trifecta of AI. And once you have those three, nothing else matters. But in truth, and you've introduced kind of our broad idea, but there are two ways that you see AI in the mainstream. One is looking at ChatGPT and the likes, and using LLM to very basic functions on a daily life, or even just for fun. And both are valid. None of them will drive much value to a business, unless you use ChatGPT, which can be done to improve some of your daily tasks, like coding or debugging a code, or I don't know, asking ChatGPT to give you some ideas so you can start a project, like create a communications piece. But anyway, those are not business implementations, those are individual ones. You want to look at businesses. And the other way is we're not going Matrix style, or that movie that I forgot the name, where they could predict who would commit a crime, and they arrest the person before they committed the crime.
Oh, the Tom Cruise movie, like the one from the 90s or the 2000s?
2000s, yes.
Man,
Minority Report. Minority
Here we
Report.
go.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that AI isn't, and we'll talk about why even. But there's a lot in between that shows how AI can create value to businesses, how businesses can use AI, and what are the theories being developed in academia of how AI operates, what AI can do, and what are the impacts of AI to businesses, to society, to employees, like not just the firms but the employees. And those are not that talked about. And the other thing we're not going to talk about is breaking news, because you can see AI breaking news everywhere if you want.
Yep.
You can set up your phone to have the notifications from anything like Wall Street Journal and Financial Times to random websites. They're focused on tech and AI. And that's not the purpose, because those are great, those are important, but those don't drive the main thinking. Those are the things that are happening kind of all around. They could be meaningful or not. So we try to kind of like cut through the noise. I guess that's my final conclusion. Cut through the noise and try to follow like the straight path of where AI can go for businesses.
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's perfect. Tell who is watching us, who is listening to us, where are you talking from? Like, what is your current job? What is your current what are your current activities? Because there is a reason why it's not just the good looks. There is a reason why I really wanted to run this project with you, because you bring a completely different perspective of who is actually talking about AI, not writing about AI, because we will talk about there are a bunch of academic papers being written every day, being published every day. But tell us a little bit about who you are, who is Henrique, and what are you like? What is the kind of work you're developing right now in Notre Dame?
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm currently a PhD student at Notre Dame. I'm going to my 4th year. I worked in a bunch of industries before. I'm a chemical engineer undergrad, worked in oil and gas, realized I didn't like that, got an MBA, thought I wanted to work in fintech, realized I loved reading and studying fintechs. I did not like the day-to-day operations. Worked in 2 fintechs. That was not for me. Worked in tech as a tech consultant. And the job was perfect. I had everything I could have asked for in a job, and I wasn't satisfied. I realized I wanted to get a PhD and study what I was actually working at or with. So I got my MBA here at Notre Dame. I came back for my PhD in strategy, and that pretty much entails understanding business strategies. And it could be anything that affects strategic decisions that a business can take, from very big picture, cost management, I don't know, reducing R&D or things that are very like overall business, to very specific micro things that affect a daily task or daily operations of teams. And I try to go kind of an in-between. I want to understand CEO decision-making or executive decision-making, and what leads executives to make the decisions that they do. What are the biases, the contacts, the external influences, internal beliefs, everything that drives executives, and also how that impacts multiple stakeholders. The sort of mainstream line of strategy is to just look at firm performance. How does that affect ROA, ROI, market share, market value, but also market share. Why in Notre Dame, most of the strategy group, the faculty here and the students, we try to look at that always because that's the end goal for every firm, but also how that affects everyone else, employees, customers, society, any other stakeholders that could be involved. And well, companies adopting AI are a very big decision that they can make, probably driven by the top management team, the executives, and they affect multiple stakeholders, including employees, which is kind of my main focus, but stakeholders in general. And that's what I've been researching. And maybe one day I'll be the one writing it. I'm not the one writing about it yet. I'm researching, analyzing, and that was kind of what connected Eric and I. Now, well, a lot of things have connected us over the years, but for this specific project, I'm hoping I can contribute some with both the theoretical developments, the academic developments, the research that is being done, and what I see as real world implementation that can be done in businesses. Again, as I said, like kind of trying to cut through the noise and understand what can actually be done, what is the real impact for businesses, for employees, for managers, etc.
That's awesome, man. And just talking a little bit about myself now, the one book that opened my eyes, like, and I'm the other side. I've been working for more than 30 years in tech now, and I'm more like deep into the business practices and trying to help them. Like, first of all, it's software. Like what I do, I work for SC Solutions. We're a software consulting company, but we've been starting to put AI into our mix for the past 12 months. And one of my main goals of starting at the company was to, especially the global expansion, because we have units in Brazil and in the US and Latin America, but to try to understand how it would change, like the same way you do all your research and you look at all the strategy that companies used to apply until 2023, 2024, and how things are changed in the last 12, 18 months. I've been seeing that with small and medium-sized businesses, and I've been seeing how hard it has been for them to translate. And I like to use that word because I also had a translation company for a long time, and I was probably the first one to feel the pain of AI because I was the one who probably circa 2016, 2017 was the ones, it's not going to change my business. Humans will still do it better. And every year, it was just a little leap, a little leap, a little leap until it got like to 2022, 2023. And every freaking demo about the new version of an LLM model, of course, it starts with translation, and it's way better than humans like did it all the time. So it's probably the best use case. And I'm not saying that other industries will have the same impact, but they will have an impact. And our goal here is to help them understand how to analyze the impact, how to create a framework, create a strategy to apply AI in a way that, yes, it will reduce costs. Yes, it will, I don't want to say reduce people, but change people management. You just have to focus on a different way of how you're going to use like manual repetitive tests, how these people are going to, how you have to train them, what skills they have to develop to be able to add more value to your customer in a different competitive landscape. But the whole connection with academia and with Henrique comes from the book I read, and it just opened my eyes, and I recommended it to you, Henrique, and I know you didn't read it yet.
I have not, but I will.
The Worlds I See from Professor Fei-Fei Li, because it just connected. Like, it's a great memoir. It's a great book. It's just a great read of her story of an immigration story, but how she connects the life in academia and in the corporate world, and how innovation comes. It always, in my opinion, it always adds elements of these two worlds. And what I feel that's missing from the discussion of AI now is this combination. Is like, I have to listen to Henrique. I have to listen to what he's bringing from the academia world and try to combine with what we're doing, the framework we're trying to apply in practice. And So the worlds I see from Professor Feifei Lee, not only you, Henrique, but everyone listening, everyone watching, please, please, please read it. It's just an awesome book. And it gave me the connection to see, actually, and I pun intended, but to see AI with different eyes.
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned that I think is very important, and you said how AI can change the labor and employees, and one way that companies could easily use AI is to reduce manual, like mechanic labor, right? The kind of the tasks that don't involve actually thinking and processing. And yes, companies could reduce employee workforce if they want, but they could also retrain their employees to do something else and improve the overall company productivity, because then it's almost like they'd have extra employees who are the AI, right? So you could have AI do the dumb part of coding, for instance, the part that you have to repeat every time you want to do that specific task, but you don't need a human brain behind it. You can have AI just run that specific set of code, and the humans there monitoring it, or switching for specific occasions, or doing the additional part where it requires cognition and understanding the context of a certain situation. So anyway, that's just like something that you said that triggered this thought that it's important to think of how AI is not there just to take people's jobs, but it could change people's jobs for sure. And you have even AIs. I think IBM has one that helps you with new skills and kind of like provides like a provides a development path tailored to you, of like what skills you could do to improve.
That's cool that you brought coding up, because that's probably the one, I won't call it industry, I will call it activity, because it's more narrow than that. But it's the one activity that has been evolving in such a way in the past 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
And dude, I was at South by South. We're recording now this in the beginning of June 2025. If you're watching this now, if you're watching this 2 years from now. But
hello from the past.
Hello from the past. But in March, I was at South by Southwest. And of course, the day that Michelle Obama did her lecture, her podcast recording, probably a lot more popular than ours, but we'll get there. Don't worry. It was just impossible to get in. And I went to a Gartner session. That was awesome. That was a session, basically a case study they ran, talking about the impact of AI in coding, specifically for developers. And the results of their studies showed that the return on investment, or the return on the AI application, was seen better with more experienced developers. They didn't see great results with younger, less experienced developers. So we're talking about March 2025. Probably these were results collected around December 24, something like that. It still is true. If you are an experienced developer, you will find better results, because you can pinpoint the mistakes, the AI mistakes, quicker. You can analyze the code and see if he's losing himself. You can put him back in the right path easier. But in the past 6 months, we've seen, and I'm not going to go too much about vibe coding, because everybody's talking about vibe coding, but you've seen a lot. We've been seeing a lot of great results of people who have no idea how to code to start coding with tools like Windsurf, like Cursor, so we're not talking about the Microsoft Copilot from 2024 that was okay. Now we're talking about results where startups in the Silicon Valley, they build 30 to 40% of their code using AI. And that could go up to 50, 60% maybe in the next 6 months. So we're talking, yes, about a cost reduction, about speeding up that process. But again, are you just going to reduce people, or since you have those people trained, you're going to try to develop better features for your product? Like that's where strategy comes in. AI is just a variable in it. Like, yes, you're going to use AI. It's going to be a tool that you're going to apply in your production process. And we're talking about coding here, but it could be manufacturing, it could be any process. How is the seaboard going to look at that and say, hey, what are we going to do with that time and money that we're saving? Because your competitors will probably be doing the same. So it won't do you any good just to reduce people and try to compete on price. Maybe use that time, use those people to develop new skills, to develop new features for your product. So that's where strategy comes in. And we don't have like a straightforward answer. It goes like business to business to analyze and study those cases. And that's what we want to do here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great way to put it. AI is just another variable in a very big equation of how businesses compete. And so I taught strategy for the first time this past semester to my students, undergrad students, mostly freshmen. And because they're mostly freshmen, they don't have any business experience. So my goal and kind of my task was to give them the broadest picture it could of strategy so they could understand it, right? It doesn't help that I go very detailed if you don't get a big picture. And we talked a lot about how businesses compete. That's a big part of the core foundations of strategy undergrad course anywhere in the US and probably in the world. And there are two main ways: you compete on cost, or you compete on price, right, which is cost sensitive, or you compete on differentiation. So you try to do a better product. There are not that many other ways, pretty much, or at least there's like could focus on a niche, but besides that, there's no other way you can do it. You either try to get a premium product or a differentiated product, something that makes you stand out, or you stand out because you have the lowest price. And yes, lowest price is always an alternative, but only one company can get that, right? The second lowest price doesn't get those benefits. So Walmart might win a lot because they have the lowest price among the main supermarkets. The second lowest does not have that advantage because people will go to Walmart, and if they don't, they go to Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, or just their nearby supermarket. So they win on location. Other than that, you're not going to drive far to go to a supermarket that has the second lowest price. That's all to say you have multiple ways to compete on differentiation, which is what companies can do when they use AI to try to switch their offerings, improve them, have their employees do something else instead of competing on price and cutting workforce as much as they can to have the lowest cost and lowest price. Maybe one of them in a business in an industry will succeed on that, but the others will be caught in between. And between is the worst part to be.
In every way of life, like every way you look at it. But exactly. That's perfect. That's a perfect analogy.
If you think about sports, right? The worst type of team is the team that is not rebuilding and it's not competing.
Don't you dare bring my Orlando Magic into this. Don't you dare.
They've rebuilt. They're there. But the Bulls aren't. The Bulls keep in between.
My Dolphins. Then you can talk about my Miami Dolphins. That is the perfect example.
Yeah. So anyway,
we are one concussion away from rebuilding again.
From rebuilding.
Starting all over. And that's what we want you guys to see, that it is a complex environment now, because it seems easy to just replicate what you do with AI in your daily lives to a business, but it isn't, because there's so many variables that you have to consider, including when to adopt it, what to adopt. So it becomes more than a tool. It has to be a strategy. And that's why when we call this project brainstorming, It really is. It's not going to just be Henrique and I brainstorming here. We want to bring all of you together for us to brainstorm, to find, to study, to analyze, and to find what is the best solution for your company or for your business or for your occupation, what you're doing. And that's why part of this project, like what is cool about our project, is the podcast is just a part of it. And we are talking here with each other, and we're going to bring some experts in the market to have conversations with us. But we want to bring you to talk with us, and how we're going to do that. So the core of this project, and that's why I say it's a blend of academia and business and the corporate world, is we have set a questionnaire. It's a long questionnaire. It will probably take you 10 to 15 minutes to answer if you want to answer it correctly, if you just don't want to jump the questions. And the goal of this questionnaire, we'll put the link in the description and the video, wherever, like if you're seeing this on YouTube or if you listen to it on Spotify or your favorite podcast player, the link will be there, don't worry. But the idea with this questionnaire is understand your reality. Where are you with AI today? Do you have it like spread across your business and different processes? Do you have a structure already? Are you a small, medium-sized businesses? Like if you have like a board of directors, do you have a CAIO function already in your board? You don't. Who is leading this implementation? Is it? I'll use the expression shadow IT. That it's the horror for every CTO in the country. Where people are just using AI the way they want, and you don't even know, you don't know to control it, you don't know what data is going in there, what data is coming out of there. So the goal of this questionnaire is to give us the necessary input that we can give you, first of all, a free AI blueprint, no strings attached. Like we really want to use that information to use our knowledge and the knowledge of the teams helping us to give you a free AI blueprint to be able to at least look at it and say, hey, this is how we should implement AI in our company. And it will be tailored to your needs. It will be tailored to your answers. So most of the questions are multiple choice, of course, but there are a lot of free text answers because we want to use that information to be able to give you the right recommendations to start or to continue from where you are. So that's the cool thing. This is a very flexible model that we built, and it will give you at least from where you are right now, it will give you a starting point to where you should move forward. We really believe in frameworks. That's something that like our business here is strong, and that's what we do. And we'll talk a little bit about our A Impact framework, something we created here with 9 pillars, and it's flexible and it really gives you an idea of how to implement AI. But we're not selling anything. We really just want to start with giving you a free AI blueprint, and that information will also help on the academia side, on the Henrique side, to be able to start collecting information in a way that we will start to create a database of how businesses around the world, English-speaking language, we will record the same podcast in Portuguese too. Our Spanish is really bad, so we won't go there yet. Maybe we can use AI later on to do like a Spanish versions of Eric and Henrique. But we really want to collect information in a way that we're able to follow the path of how businesses are implementing AI, and what with the changes that happen every week now with AI, how that will impact the answers. So we will do like this big study, and that's on Henrique's hands, and on my hand is the idea of giving you something to use to be able to start really using AI in a way that's favorable for your business and can follow the trends. And in addition to that, we are going to select that's why it's important that you answer this questionnaire correctly, not only to get the free blueprint, but we are going to invite business owners, invite professionals to talk with us. And we are going to our goal is at least once a month, give a free MVP. We're going to create an MVP of a solution in your business. And we want to follow the results of that. We want to bring you to talk with us, to talk about the pain points, to talk about the issues of implementation, of how things are changing in your business. So we really want to build a community around AI, a business community around AI, in the way we can help, like with our knowledge, with our information, with our research, with our studies. So we want to bring everyone together with that.
Yeah, and just to complement on my end, so as I said, my goal is to understand how the decisions impact stakeholders. In this case, how AI implementation will impact firms and employees. And the more data points you get, the better to understand the actual impact of AI on each business, right? And how that affects the CEO or the manager's lives, you who are implementing or who are contacting us, how does your life change? How did it change after you implemented AI? And also, how did your employees' lives change? How did the firm performance change? Did you see a change in costs, in revenue, in sales, and market share, whichever your business is? Was it easier to get more customers? There are multiple things we can use AI for, and then the more data that we collect, we'll start driving insights and finding kind of results that then we can share back with you, so you can know not only how did it impact your company, but how did it impact a bunch of companies. So that is the, say, overall or general impact of AI in businesses as of 2025, 26.
It really, our goal is for it to be a living organism, to be able to use the data that you're going to give to us to be able to not only provide the free blueprint, the strategy, but also help some companies. Of course, we cannot help everyone with free MVPs, but we want to be able to give free AI implementations and to be able to talk to you, for you to actually talk about your business in the podcast and talk about everything. It's a way to give you like a way to explain what you do and how AI is changing. It will change your business and the people in your business. So that's our goal with the project. And Henrique, I think the one thing we could try to give our ideas here before we go to the academic paper of the episode, because that's how, at least for now, that's our goal for now. Each episode we're going to end talking about an academic paper. How do you see, like, do you believe there will be any changes in how businesses measure ROI in different processes with AI? Like, for me, for example, I look at the human factor will have such a big weight on this, because it is such the easy way out to just reduce cost, especially human labor, especially when we talk about an unemployment rate that's around 4% for the past 2-3 years since we recovered from COVID.
Oh, yes. But it was at 4.1, 4.2 before COVID for a few years already, and then it spiked obviously during COVID and came back. Yes.
And when we look at industries like that's something I did some research on. When we looked at manufacturing, it's an industry that's 800,000 jobs short now, and the forecast say it will be around 1.5 million, 2 million short in the next 5 years. So why would you get the easy way out and just reduce costs and reduce people if it's so hard to get people? And how will you make sure that people will have the right skills for this new reality? So it's something that I promise, like, at least on my end, I would try to bring it in a more robust discussion for future episodes. But it's something that I think a lot about, like, how will people measure it? Will they just go for the easy way out? Will they just go for the low-hanging fruit and say, hey, let's just reduce costs with people? Or are they actually going to try to invest in training these people and changing processes and how they're going to measure this? What is your view on this and your perspective? Because I know we don't have the numbers for that yet, but just of what you've seen the last few years, what do you think will happen in the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, I don't think it'll have an impact on jobs in the next 12 months or 24. I'm skeptical of the short-term large impact of AI. The short-term specific impact is huge. As you said, the development of code, for instance, the capability of AI to code from a year ago to now is absurdly increased. I remember, so using ChatGPT or any of those LLMs, I use Stata for coding, and Stata is a paid program. So it's not like R, which is open source, or Python, which means ChatGPT doesn't have access to Stata.
Okay.
So a year ago, you couldn't use ChatGPT for Stata. It would give you wrong code. You'd try to implement, it would be wrong. You'd tell ChatGPT that's wrong. They say, oh yeah, that's true. I'm sorry. Let me try. So this is the right one. You try again. It'd say it's wrong. And after about 3 times, they'd say, yeah, sorry, I can't help you. Because they didn't have access to the whole database. Somehow, at some point, it learned. So now it can't give you 10, 20 lines of code at once. But if you have one issue, it'll give you how to solve that, and it does work. That goes to the point where I'm not an expert. If you're an expert, it's probably even more helpful, but you have to have previous knowledge still to be able to use ChatGPT instead of, being someone who's never used code before and just starts asking. Anyway, that's all to say the specific, the individual impact of AI, I think, is immense in the short term. But if you look at the macro economy, I don't think it will replace jobs in the very near future. It could years from now. But if you look at all the revolutions that existed in history, Industrial Revolution, the computer revolution, 30, 40 years ago, they all had one thing in common: the fear among society that they would lose their jobs and they'd be replaced by first machines, in the sense of industrial machines, then by a computer. And yes, some jobs went extinct, right? You don't need typewriters anymore. You don't need elevator operators anymore. Some elevators still have them because they're old, but you don't need them most of the time. You don't need so many things. You don't have video store clerks and people who worked at video stores anymore.
Blockbuster.
Huh? Blockbuster's gone. But those jobs ended. And as you said, unemployment is still at the lowest it's been historically, which means people might have switched jobs. They might have adapted jobs. Their jobs might have started being called something else, or they might have new skills to adapt to a new environment. But jobs aren't gone. People will not be replaced. Humans will not be replaced. A few specific jobs might end up being replaced, not in 12 months, but maybe in 5 years. But by then, new skills will come up, new jobs will come up, and humans will adapt, as we always do. So anyway, that's just...
that's perfect. And just to go on that, it's up to the businesses to help the employees to adapt. It really is to help them not have the fear that they're going to disappear from the face of the earth. That what they've done their whole lives will just disappear. It's not that, but the businesses that will succeed in the new age of AI will be the ones that help their professionals and their team develop the right skills to be able to apply it in a more effective way. I think that is...
And that is how it's happening, all the revolutions, right? And the new discoveries that are done in technology. So businesses will fail. Some businesses will go bankrupt. close, and others will begin or pop up. Startups will succeed, and that's how the world goes. And it spins because it does spin, right? Nokia was the main cell phone brand in the world, probably. I think it had at some point almost a 50% market share in the phone market, mobile phone market, and that is a crazy amount. And it's not now because we have a borderline monopoly, but it is crazy that any company has a 50% market share of a very competitive market. And in like 3-4 years, it went from that to maybe 5%. And Apple went from 5% to 50%. And now it has, I think, 70% of the US or 90% of the US.
In the US, yes. In the US.
In the US, yeah. And, because any revolution, anything new, AI is new, will lead some business to take advantage of that wave, that new trend. And as you said, train their employees, find new ways to have their employees be effective, find new ways to increase productivity, and will succeed and will rise. And others will fail either by ignoring AI or by just thinking the solution is to replace all employees with AI. And then they will probably go bankrupt because AI won't replace employees 100%. There's been experiments already with, I think, travel agents and customer services that try to replace more employees than necessary, or not necessary, but more employees than they should have with AI. So pretty much have AI lead it. And that led to a decrease in sales or customer satisfaction, because there's a point that you don't want an AI telling you what it was trained to do. You want a specific situation that AI won't cover, or you just want to feel like you're talking to a human being and not to a robot. We've talked about it, right? Every time you have an AI output, it came from AI. Unless you read that model, unless you spent a lot of time using that model, it'll come out in a way that sounds like AI. And actually, that's something I told my students as well. I said, you're free to use AI in your work. But if you don't train the model, if you just ask AI, please give me an answer for this question, I will know it's AI immediately.
You're screwed. You're screwed.
Right? That's number one. Number two, if you really spend time training it to give you a very good answer, concise, logical, etc., then you've done the work already. You have to know enough to train that model. So you could have written it yourself, but it's fine. You've thought about it, you've trained, you improved, you iterated. And three, whatever you do, you have to defend your work. You have to be able to defend your work. So if AI spit out something to you and you sent it to me, but you're able to defend it, to explain it, that's fine. No manager in real life will complain as long as you're able to explain what you did. And it sounds good. It doesn't sound like ChatGPT. So
it's funny, man, my friend, because when you're talking, like the one thing, it's like I drew a scale in my head, and like I could summarize what you said, and that we have, and that's our goal here, to help people find the middle ground between the fear of missing out, and that's basically trying to adapt, trying to embrace everything that comes out. And with AI, it's impossible right now because things change and they go back, and we'll talk about in future episodes. But I told you off the air, like prompt engineering is something that was like the huge thing 7-8 months ago. It kind of disappeared, and now it's back because of AI agents. So you gotta not be in that end of the fear of missing out, and neither you can be in the end of the fear of doing something. Like you're just frozen because you're like, oh my God, what should I do? And you just end up not doing anything. So you have to find that middle ground, and businesses have to find that middle ground of creating a framework, creating a process, creating some like pillars that they can adopt to be able to start putting AI in their activities and their processes in a way that you can have governance, you can have risk management, you can have You can have talent management. So all these little items, they have to be based on something, and that's where the AI strategy comes in. So like we have to find this middle of the road of this journey of being just stuck without being able to move, or trying to do everything, because both ends are just a recipe for not being successful.
Yeah, definitely. And that's again something that you see time and time again in industry and in businesses in different situations. And it's again with AI, when it's something new coming up, you have too many different avenues to go. And if you try to go to all of them, you're not going to any of them, and you're failing. You're failing faster than if you stood back and decided not to do anything. So yes, that's what we're here to try to do, is to help you really think about what AI can help you with, where you could drive value from AI, and then we work with you to achieve that.
Perfect.
Not
That's
to
our
make your whole company automate and have a one-person company and
that's it.
100 LLMs.
That's it. And as we promised, we're going to try to close each episode with a little analysis of an academic paper and why. Because we're recording this at the beginning of June. The last week of May, during one day, I think it was May 27th, there were 206 academic papers on AI published that day. Maybe it's an outlier, but let's try to say that probably there are around 500 to 1,000 papers being published every week in AI. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. And I think there's a lot of stuff that people just miss because they're so focused on the news. They're so focused on the latest features from ChatGPT, from Gemini, when there is a lot of good stuff that we can discuss. And we're going to try to bring a little bit of that every episode. To be able to see what academia is looking at and how we can implement it in business. And the first one we're going to talk about is a paper called The 10 Principles of AI Agent Economics from Qiang and Chen Zai from the University of Illinois. And it's very interesting because it kind of divides into 10 principles. And we're not going to talk about all of them here. We're going to put the link up to the paper in the episode description. But there are some here that really make sense for us to reflect and look at how AI is going to, when we talk about economics, how is it going to affect the bottom line of businesses? Because that's survival, that's success, that's what really matters. And I, at least in my end here, Henrique, I highlighted one of them that I think it's cool. And it's the first principle, where it talks about AI agents have a different structure from humans, leading to distinct decision-making drivers. So basically, humans, they have biological needs and emotions. They do things based on their experience, while the AI agents, they are based on objective functions, how they were trained, what data was fed into them, how are they processing that data. And if we're talking about, like some people are talking about, how to replace humans with AI, if you have that different foundation where people like us, we make decisions based on data more and more, but we still, our feeling of our experience of what we lived is what determines the outcome of our decisions. And when we train an AI model, their decisions is based in not only in the data, but how we structure the instructions to access and process that data. That's why even that we're not going to get too tactical, we're going to always try to be more strategic. But we will discuss a lot about prompts and how important prompts are to be able to access the information the way you want. Because all the different applications you talk about today, it could be AI agents. It could be just the main use of an interface, of a Claude interface, of a ChatGPT interface. It could be like all different uses. Everything starts with two factors: with the data you feed it and how you instruct them to use that data. But even that way, the AI decision will always be a more logical decision, and there's good and bad to that, because sometimes it can miss context. It really can miss context, and context matters a lot when there are critical decisions that cannot be reviewed by a human. So all the implementations we've done here with our customers, we always look at processes that can have a human in the loop, that must have a human in the loop, if there are critical processes for the company. As much as I am an AI addict and I love the concept of it, there are some processes that you still need the human eyes to be able to validate the answer. Let's be completely practical here. So this principle of finding these nuance of human decisions based on emotions and AI agent decisions based on data and processing is a cool thing about when we talk about economics.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I was struck by that first principle as well. And what you mentioned now, that's the perfect combination when you have humans with emotions and understanding context and self-awareness, and AI managing the data part, and that's where each of them do best. And they cannot compete on the other one comparatively, right? A human will never be as good at analyzing data as an AI, but I really doubt that an AI will ever be as good as a human being at understanding the nuances of a context and even the kind of the subconscious perceptions that humans have, that we don't know what we are subconsciously perceiving, but we are, and that affects our decisions. And that it has never really been proven, but that is probably what things like gut feeling and intuition and like those unexplained or those sort of psychological decisions or emotional decisions, that's where they come from. A gut feeling doesn't really come from your gut, but it probably comes from the fact that there's something inside that we can't explain that made us decide that. And humans who are good at subconsciously perceiving and storing information are better at gut feeling. Some humans are really good at gut feeling, and you don't understand why.
Thinking fast and slow.
Exactly. Yeah. Another great book to read, Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman, and I forgot the other one.
Yep.
But so those are things that AI probably will never do. Also, because AI needs to be trained by humans. As you said, the data is input by humans, the prompts are input by humans. Everything the AI see is fed by humans. So the subconscious will not be seen, and just the ability of perceiving context in general, of having self-awareness, of trying to understand if that decision is right or wrong, right? We make a decision and we can double check that, second guess that, think if that's the right thing. The AI doesn't. The AI comes up with an output, and that's it. That's the ultimate truth, unless told otherwise. And the paper mentions how AI goes theory into practice. It's a closed form mathematical model. So you have the mathematical model, that's the theory, and that's solid. But that'll spit out one output that'll be practice, and that'll ignore everything outside of that formula, which is, as you said, just a word, right? And humans go practice into theory, which means we might get theory wrong many times, because we might take 10 data points that we've had through our lives and turn that into theory. And theory isn't that. Theory involves way more than just your 10 data points. But we are really good at trying to understand how the 11th one compares to the other 10, and how you can derive experiences from those 10 to that next one. AI doesn't do that. That's our model, and that's it. So anyway, that's another way to explain how AIs work and how they're different, and they'll probably always be different. than human beings.
The cool thing, I was just thinking about it. We are conducting here internally. It's not to our customers. For us, we are conducting an R&D project to try to get government funds to implement some AI solutions into our products, to our own products. And I've been doing a lot of work trying to connect the dots of different academic papers to try to find the theories to be able to prove these theories with our work here, because that's what the government funder requires. You have to look at academia first, what is being done, to be able to create a theory based on that and then try to implement it. And when we talk about AI, like I had to look at probably 30 something different academic papers. And of course, I did some summaries using AI for that, to be able to speed up the process a little bit. But I use different LLM models to be able to validate the summary that was done, and try and feeding them with the original paper again. And the cool thing is that some things, I don't want to use the word hallucinate, but they kind of created a context that didn't exist when LLM did. So I had to validate it with a second one, and I had to validate with my eyes. And then I brought some other people. So I involved some other humans in the loop here in the company, and they were seeing things a little bit different than I would see. So again, perspective is everything. And there are limitations for most critical activities when I talk about AI. There are some activities that, yes, you can automate it to 100%. I will defend that. But there are few now, and if they're critical for your business delivery, you should have a human in the loop. Let me put it that way.
Exactly. And the ultimate one, talking about businesses, is the decision making, the final decision. Whatever it is, whichever context, and for anything that you're using AI for, the ultimate decision needs to be human, because that's where AI struggles the most. It's just, well, it will make the decision, but understanding whether that decision actually fits or not. And no matter how many times you iterate and you try to give them more context, it sounds like, I guess it comes down to self-awareness, or just some sort of general awareness that AI completely lacks. It's zero, right? It's zero for any AI model, unless it's to say, I'm not able to do that for you. I'm sorry.
And that's important. One thing, if you're implementing an AI solution, it's important to give that kind of instruction. And depending on the deliverable you want from your AI, you have to tell them, like, if you don't have the exact answer that I'm asking for, tell me you don't know, or send it in an approval flow to another person or to another model that maybe will have that answer. But do not try to create that answer.
Yeah, because they will try, and they'll probably try many times until you tell them no, or that's wrong enough for them to say, sorry, I can't do it. And that's it. They lack self-awareness. They lack the understanding of when that could be right or wrong. And that is something that humans are way, way ahead of AI in that sense. And that's where I'm skeptical that AI will ever get to. And that's where we come in. And we always need that for anything, from because we're talking about coding. From a small coding job, you need a human trained set of eyes to just analyze that and see if that output is right, to an actual big decision. If you're going to launch a new product and you want AI to do market analysis for you and target the right customer segment and develop the branding and the communication kind of thought process, in the end of the day, they can do all that for you, but you'll probably have to change multiple times after that, and you make the final decision, because otherwise it will probably not be a good solution. It'll be good. It will be a great start for you, not a great finish, great end.
That's a great way to end it, man. I love it. Talking head Henrique with the hot takes. I love it. But that's cool, man. That's cool. And I think, and again, we're going to put the link to the paper in the description of the episode. And every episode we really want to get what's being studied in academia to bring it here and to share it with you guys and to give our insights on it. The link to our questionnaire for the free AI blueprint will also be in the episode description. And please, like, it will take, it's probably 80 questions or something like that. It would take around 10 to 15 minutes to answer. So make a coffee or make your tea, take some time. The more accurate the data you give us, the more accurate the blueprint we will generate for you. So it's customized, everything. Yes, we're using some AI to do it. That's part of our expertise, but and it will be based on your responses. So that is important. And again, we want as much people in this community, in this brainstorming with us, and we're going to select at least one company a month to be able to talk to us, come to the podcast, share their ideas, and we will give them a free MVP implementation too. Because we want to follow the path. We want to have our whole community with us around the world, trying to help businesses look at AI in a different way. That's our goal. Probably you will not look at as good as the two of us, but at least your results will.
That's our promise to you.
My friend, pleasure as always. You're the man. Thanks for joining me in this adventure. But I think we have a lot of good stuff to share, and it will be a cool journey to have all our listeners and viewers with us during our journey.
Same, my pleasure. Likewise, it's amazing to have a project with you, and I'm very excited for it. I think we have a lot to learn and to do and to try to help others. And yeah, I'm excited for this journey. I think it'll be great. And our promise also to you listeners and future customers, hopefully, is that it'll be those two pairs of those two human beings and those two pairs of eyes behind that. We're not going to use AI for the the MVP, for the solutions. The solutions are human based or human driven.
Exactly. Guys, I hope you enjoy it. If you like it, please like, please subscribe. Please do everything you do with your favorite podcast. Share it with your friends, share it with your enemies. We don't care. But it's important for us to grow this group, grow this community. That's our goal. And we are starting little by little, but with a lot of discipline here. And we're going to, again, the same way AI is evolving and adapting every week, we promise we will do the same here.
Exactly.
Guys, see you next episode. Thanks a lot. And we'll be back.